In this video, we're going to be doing a full walkthrough of GoToWebinar. So this is going to involve getting GoToWebinar integrated within our Convertri account, and then we are going to just go into GoToWebinar and check that we have a webinar ready to add to a page, and then finally we're going to create a working form with GoToWebinar and Convertri so that your users can enter their email address and receive a link to your next webinar. So this is to really get started with GoToWebinar and start getting people watching your link. So the first step, like I said, is getting integrated. So go to the account dashboard and click on integrations on the left-hand toolbar. Then we need to scroll until we see GoToWebinar. Click setup. So it will have a blue button that says connect your account, and the easiest step to do next is what I have done, which is to open GoToWebinar, log in with your credentials that you want to link to Convertri, and open it on a new tab. If you don't do this, this blue button will just ask you to do that, but because in the next step we're going to need to look into our GoToWebinar dashboard, this is just an easier way of doing it. So I have opened GoToWebinar in a separate tab within my browser. So when I select connect your account, it will automatically know that that's me. Like I said, if not, this will just pop up asking for your login credentials, and then you will be taken to this screen. So we want to allow, because we want Convertri and GoToWebinar to talk to each other. And once it's loaded that, it will have a green success message here, and we will have another little success message there and a green tick. So we know that GoToWebinar is all set up within our Convertri account. So like I said, the next step we're going to do is to actually look at GoToWebinar itself, just for a quick overview of what exactly we're looking for. So open it on another tab if you haven't already, and then navigate to it. So as you can see, I've got two webinars here. Now, the key thing when you are timetabling a webinar, which you want to be able to advertise in Convertri, is this needs to be happening in the future. Convertri is not going to recognise a past event, for instance. It's going to need an upcoming event because you can't register people for a webinar that's already happened. So make sure that you've got at least one. So I've made this my walkthrough webinar, which I'm going to be using today, which is scheduled for a date in the future. So this date hasn't happened yet if you're me. And so that's all you need to do. If you don't have one already, it's very easy to just click this schedule button here. And you really need very few details to just get this started. So once you have a webinar that is scheduled in the future and you have one in mind that you want to send the link to, we can go back to Convertri and get this set up. So now navigate to the page that you wish to add this webinar to. So like I said, this will mean that a user will enter their email address and they will be sent a link to the webinar that we have decided. So this is a template, just to give you an idea of what your webinar page could look like. But the minimum two elements that you're going to need on your page would be an email input box and a submit button with the mode set to sign up. I'm also collecting first name and last name just as extra information. So to add these two elements to your page, which are essential, go to the form elements tray. Here is the email button and here is the submit button, but make sure that once you've added it to your page, that in element properties, button settings, this is the sign up mode. This is also the same place, the form elements tray, where you would find the first name and last name boxes if you were also interested in adding these to your page. But like I said, you need this email input box and this button to get people able to sign up to your webinar. So once you've got these on your page, we're ready to get started with GoToWebinar on this page. So go to Forms, Webinars, GoToWebinar. It's going to ask us which webinar would you like to add your prospects to, and you will see that these were the two webinars that popped up that I said, look, these are scheduled in the future. So the walkthrough webinar is the one I want to use today, and we've got all of our fixed fields already set up here, which makes our life easier, but this doesn't always happen. So fixed fields mean that these are the fields, but also these have been assigned by GoToWebinar, that they understand that a zip code is a zip code, a country is a country, city is city, all of this good stuff. But this doesn't always happen. And in this case, it wouldn't say fixed, it would just say fields. And then it would have the field that you've decided to add to your page, because you might want to ask quite a lot of information. And there'll be a drop down here. So this is called configuring your form fields, and it's pretty essential if they are not fixed. So just from this drop down, you would say, there would be a drop down here, and it would say, what is this? And you'd have a list of things it could be, and you will select the one that links up to it. So sometimes these aren't always right. For instance, sometimes you have email with email address, but you get the gist. They are the same thing. And so once your form fields are configured, if this is necessary, and you click done, if you haven't already, you will be navigated to here. This helps you decide your thank you page. So would you like to thank someone by taking them to a separate page for signing up to your webinar, or do you just want them to stay on your page? Maybe all the information's on that page. That's completely a personal choice. So if you just wanted them to stay on the page that you've already made, you would toggle on stay on page. But if you don't, please paste in the URL of the page that you wish them to be redirected to, and they will be once the form is submitted. You can also decide whether the form data needs to also be sent to this thank you page. Then click done. Now we have a little red tick next to forms that wasn't here before, so we know that this is now set up. So you are ready to publish your page. You're welcome to test it and see if you receive a link to your webinar, and get started getting people watching your webinars.